Good morning, dear students. In the last session, you learnt about what is friction and how the force acting on the friction and what are the factors that are affecting to the friction and how a friction is a necessary evil in our daily life. So, as you learnt in the last class, we want friction in each and every action, right? So if we have a more friction, then how to reduce it? If we have a less friction, how to increase it? For example, like suppose you are walking in a very smooth surface, so it is not easy and it was not a comfortable for you people for walking in that smooth surface. So what you people will do? So what you will do on that smooth surface, you'll just put some carpet, right? In order to walk easily, you put some carpet. Suppose this is a one scenario. So another scenario, you cannot walk in the very wet ground, right? So what you will make, that surface is little clear, right? So this is how sometimes we will increase the friction and we will reduce the friction. So how to reduce and how to increase the friction? Let's see along with some of the example.
Methods of increasing friction. Soles of our shoes are grooved purposely to provide them a good grip on the road while walking. Tires of the vehicles are specially treated so as to have a good grip on the road and have less chances of slipping while moving and taking turns on the road. In the bicycles and other automobiles, brake pads are used for increasing friction. Although brake pads do not touch the wheels, but as brake lever is pressed, the brake pads are still able to lock the motion of rim due to friction. Kabaddi players rub sand on their hands to increase friction and hence achieve better grip on their opponents.
So this is how we can increase the friction in our daily life. Let's see how to decrease the friction. I will give one just a simple example. So when you pull or push your door, so sometimes you will heard some sound, some car sound you will heard. So soon what you will do, you just take some oil and you will apply some oil in between the doors. So that sound will stop after pulling and pushing the door, right? So this is reducing the friction. So this is the example for reducing the friction, whereas I have used a oil in order to reduce that friction between that doors, right? So using oil or grease is call it as a lubricants. So now let us see the methods of decreasing or reducing the friction.
Methods to reduce friction. Friction can be reduced by reducing the area of contact between the two surfaces. There are different methods to reduce friction. Let us study them in detail. Use of rollers helps in reducing friction. For example, wheels are provided to the objects to reduce friction. Wheels not only reduce the area of contact between the two surfaces, but also allow smooth movement. Use of lubricants reduces friction. Machines are oiled from time to time to reduce friction and wear and tear of the machinery. With the use of lubricants, a thin layer is formed between the two surfaces. This reduces friction, as the moving surface do not directly rub against each other. Some of the well-known lubricants are oil, grease, and graphite. Smooth surface reduces friction. Smooth and hard surface reduces friction to a greater extent. For example, railway lines and wheels on the train are made from iron. They are smooth and hard. This reduces friction to a greater extent. Use of powder in reducing friction. Fine granules of powder function as rolling balls. This helps in reducing friction. Best example to understand this is the game of carom board, where powder is frequently used for the smooth movement of coins. Shaping reduces friction. Special designing of objects is essential to reduce friction and improve efficiency. The vehicles are streamlined to improve their speed. They are pointed or narrow in front and curved on sides to reduce friction. Methods.
Let's have a look into the forms of the friction, or else types of the friction. There are four main types of the friction. That is, one is a static friction and sliding friction, rolling friction and fluid friction. Let us understand these four types of friction using example.
On ground is at rest at this point. Static friction is acting on it. The frictional force that exists between the two surfaces so long as they are relatively at rest when an external force acts is called static friction. There is no actual movement of the body in static friction. In static friction, force of static friction is equal to the applied force. Static friction ends with the beginning of sliding of the object at rest. When we push the ball, it starts moving. The frictional force present when one body moves slowly or slides over another body is known as sliding friction. Once a body slides, the sliding friction is reduced a little. It is less than the static friction. In sliding friction, the force of sliding friction is equal to the constant pull force. You must have seen attachers and other pieces of luggage fitted with rollers. Even a child can pull such pieces of luggage. Why is it so? Let us find out. The rollers reduce friction and roll on the objects on rollers. It is always easier to roll than to slide a body over another. That is the reason it is convenient to pull the luggages fitted with rollers. The force of friction between the rollers on a body and the surface is called the rolling friction. Rolling friction is much less than the sliding friction. Since the rolling friction is smaller than the sliding friction, sliding is replaced in most machines by rolling by the use of ball bearings. Common examples are the use of ball bearings between hubs and the axles of ceiling fans and bicycles. It is not only the ground which offers force of friction on the body moving along its surface, even water and air exert frictional force. In science, the common name of gases and liquids is fluids. Let us look at some examples of fluid friction. The streamlined shape of fishes helps them in reducing the force of friction between their body and the water through which they move. Boats and ships are narrow in front and sloping on sides. This is known as streamlined shape. Streamlined shape reduces friction from fluid medium through which these objects move. Water offers friction to the sailing ship. In a clear night sky, the shooting stars can be seen. These are small pieces of rock material floating in space called meteors. Do you know why it catches fire? When a meteor skids from space and enters the Earth's atmosphere, it rubs against the air. The speed of the meteor is extremely high, hence it comes across a very high friction while moving through air. This generates heat and burns with a flame. The burning meteor leaves behind a streak which appears like a shooting star. Aeroplanes flying through air also face force of friction. Since aeroplanes move fast, the force of friction between them and the air is high. The jets and supersonics move with a faster speed than aeroplanes. While flying, these airplanes get heated on the surface from the heat generated due to the force of friction. The inside of the plane is insulated to protect the passengers from heat generated on the surface. It should be noted that thinner the medium, less is the force of friction. Thicker, denser the medium, more is the force of friction. Friction is both good and bad.
Since we already know the advantages and disadvantages of friction in the last class, now no need. So in this today's class, we learned about how to increase and how to reduce the friction, and types of the friction, like what is static friction, what is sliding friction, and what is rolling friction and fluid friction. So to this, your chapter friction is completed. Thank you.
We are able to walk